So, rotation is coming up. And while everyone else is panicking about what will happen to the meta, I'm not really playing much meta right now. Instead, I want to kind of talk about how rotation is affecting some of the decks that I mess around with since starting this channel, and provide some updated lists for anyone trying to mess around with them post-rotation. I won't cover every single deck I played since some of them won't really be playable after rotation, but here are the ones that I'm at least excited to try out. First of all, Team Rocket's Persian EX. I mean, this is, if I have a trademark, it's this. I love this deck. Now, there are a few things this deck is losing, but not very much, honestly. First of all, the 70 HP Dunsparce from Paldean Evolved is gone. We can just replace it with the Journey Together Dunsparce or the Temporal Forces Dunsparce, depending on your preference. More importantly, we're losing Iono, which we run 3 copies of here. This hurts for a ton of decks, but for us, I mean, we're mostly using Iono to put Pokemon back to our opponent's deck. The hand control is just a neat little bonus for us. Because of that, we can replace this card pretty easily with something like Harlequin or Lucian, and to be honest, I think cards like that fit the spirit of this deck way more anyways. We're playing a funny attack, using a funny card like Harlequin is way more in the spirit of the deck. The only other cards this deck is losing happen to be Artisan and Countercatcher, which don't really have easy replacements. Artisan could technically be replaced like Pokepad if you wanted to, but I think I'd rather try a different stadium. Nighttime Mine is the one that I'm looking at here, because this prevents your opponent's Terra Pokemon from using their attacks. Now, we have Team Rocket's Mimikyu to copy Terra Pokemon. We also just like copying those attacks with Haughty Order. So this deck is already not that bad into Dragapult or Eevee Box, though we play the Stadium as well. We're preventing our opponent from attacking while we copy their attacks, which is really funny. I love it a lot. I suppose Team Rocket's Factory is an option here as well, but it's all up to you. Now, as for Countercatcher, I mean, maybe another Giovanni, maybe a Boss's Orders. There's not really much in terms of other like good guessing here, just whatever you feel comfortable with. Now, applying all these changes, our updated list looks something like this. I'll try to fit all the deck lists in the description, but I don't know if I'll have room. We'll see. My next card, which is also a personal favorite of mine, is Rotom EX. This one is unfortunately not looking too hot post-rotation, so all of the Pokemon in the list are safe. That's fine, but the issue is everything else. So we're losing Iono, which is a shame, but to be honest, I never realized I wasn't playing Lilies in this list. Like, that's kind of crazy. So I mean, just throw in Lilies in there instead. Now, the more important thing is Arven. Arven searches an item and a tool. So we could say search Treasure Tracker plus a tool to get 6 tools in one search, or we can get whatever other item we need in the moment, plus a bonus tool for extra damage. Like, that's a really good card for this deck. So losing Arven is really bad. I guess we'll settle for Petrol, but ugh. The loss of Nest Ball means we have to rely on our Rotomotor or our Ultra Ball to search Rotom, which is a little bit more scuffed as well, but whatever. Another really big one is Town Stores going. Losing Town Stores sucks a lot. A Stadium bump that gets us a continuous stream of tools is really good. It's just unfortunate all around. And that's not even getting started on the tools we're losing. Most of the tools here are fine, but 2 of the best ones are Bravery Charm and EXP Share, and we're losing both of those. So for EXP Share, we can shift into relying more on Crispin and Counter Gain, so maybe not the end of the world, but Bravery Charm, we kind of need that one to help Rotom EX stay alive. So that's a really big hit. The thing is, the pool for tool cards is really shallow, so we can bump up the number of tools we have, but in terms of other tools, there's just not many good options. I mean, maybe you can throw in Handheld Fan, which is like fine, but there's nothing that really works quite as well as Bravery Charm or EXP Share did. Here is my shot at an updated list. This looks bad. Before I thought the deck was like fun, but not great. Now I think it's just bad. It's a real shame. But hey, tools are a pretty wide category. This deck has potential to get a lot better. We'll just have to wait and see. Arboliva is also kind of a big one. I made a video on Arboliva EX where we use Arboliva with Dusknoir to destroy Evolving Basics. That entire deck is probably not worth talking about anymore. You may be aware of the Arboliva deck that got second at Fukuoka, which doesn't play Dusknoir at all. Instead, it favors Ogerpon EX as a way to hit the big attackers in front of you, while Arboliva destroys Evolving Basics on the bench. So obviously it's very different from what I made back then, but it's probably the best way to play Arboliva, so yeah. Next in line, Tauros. This deck is super cool, but there's a bunch of changes we have to make. First of all, the Tauros from 151 is rotating, which kind of sucks because the other canceled Tauros cards available right now suck, and that Gather the Crew attack came in clutch a number of times. For now, let's play the Tauros with Feather Crown because it's an Uninori art, and we love Uninori. Chaos Rising will eventually give us a new Kanto Tauros, which will be the preferred option once it comes out, but till then, we're gonna stick with this. We're also losing Iono, Arven, Professor's Research, a bunch of things. So for those supporters, I mean, we can just play Lilies and whatever else to replace the draw supporters. Now for Arven, the substitute again is always going to be Petrol, which just doesn't feel great. Although Petrol has a bit of an advantage in this deck specifically. The one thing Petrol does to set it apart from Arven is that it can search any kind of trainer card. So most notably, we can search our stadiums directly here. Before we were relying on Secret Box, Arven get Secret Box, get your Risky Ruins and play from there, but with Petrol we can just get Risky Ruins directly, no need to worry about that middle step. And that gives us the room to play a different A-spec post-rotation. Unfair Stamp is the A-spec to go for, but also Precious Trolley might be pretty nice here. There's a number of options here. Now for the rest of the list, we can cut the Nest Balls for Pokepad. Even though Fez is no longer searchable, we'll just deal with it. Losing Super Rod is actually kind of weird because we're already maxed out on Night Stretchers and there's not really much in terms of other replacements there. Lana's Aid might be your best bet, although that's a supporter, which is kind of a big deal. Sacred Ash and Energy Recycler are both options, but they're both just so much less versatile. Again, Counter Catcher doesn't really have a clean replacement, so we can just throw in whatever we want there. Finally, Calamitous Snowy Mountain is going, which is like kind of a way to put damage on Tauros that are already on the bench. There's really not much in terms of good replacements for this. I don't know, like Rocket's Bomb, I don't like this card. We can try Battle Cage, I guess. I don't know, it's all up to you. Here's the list that I came up with though. Have fun. Now, Steelix is a very weird one because Steelix is rotating, but the deck is still playable. You see, Perfect Order is going to give us Diggersby, which has the same attack as Steelix, but more damage. And most importantly, instead of using Metal Energy to attack, we're using Colorless. And that gives us some more flexibility. The only thing is it's pretty difficult to update this deck without just making a new deck entirely, because we're losing Turbo Energize as well. We're losing Arven, we're losing Town Store. This deck very heavily relied on using Arven to get Trolley, to get Turbo Energize, and then just to go from there. So not having that as an option is kind of bad. Our new option is probably going to be to focus on Crispin for energy acceleration. And this is where things get a little bit interesting because we no longer are limited to Metal as our second type. We're using Darkness for Monkey Dory, but that second type can be anything. Psychic is maybe an option. We can use Smooch Jump for acceleration and we can allow Monkey Dory to attack. That's something. The issue with that one is Diggersby will kill your own Smooch Jumps with its Earthquake, which we don't really like. I mean, the thing's a little baby anyway. The other option I like though is Fighting, which allows for Ting Lu to be used, which is a really fun spread option. Again though, we are losing Town Store, we're losing Arven, we're losing Turbo Energize, we're losing TM Devolution, we're losing Earthen Vessel, we're losing Penny. A lot of the really good tools that we were using are just not available anymore, so it's gonna be a little bit awkward. Now, here is a deck list I found, which won a City League. This uses the whole Earthquake Monkey Dory combo like Steelix, but it goes in a totally different direction here. We're using more fighting types now. Zoroark and Lunatone are of course a very good draw engine, but Ursaluna is a pretty good attacker here, right? I mean, this Ursaluna already has its own deck built around using those fighting type cards plus Monkey Dory as support, but instead of relying on Risky Runes to get damage up, now we can use Diggersby, which is a much better option. I think this deck could be real. I think this deck could actually be like good. So I'm very excited for this. We'll see. Now, as for Hydreigon, I got a comment mentioning how Rose's Encouragement could be really good in this deck, and I'm inclined to agree. My main issue is if your opponent already took a knockout, then surely they've set up enough for Obsidian to not be as impactful as you would like. But I mean, maybe you can lead Badoo and hope they attack? I don't know. That said, Hydreigon is always going to be a deck that people try to make work. Here's a Japanese deck list using Blaziken to help charge it up. We have a copy of Rosa here to help out, which is pretty cool. Here's a separate deck list using Flareon EX to help charge it up instead. The fundamental issue with Hydreigon though is that it's still a stage 2 that you need to get 4 energy on. If you're getting this Pokemon set up, you are winning anyway, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. You could have just played a different deck and won much more easily. So I think Hydreigon will always be pretty bad unless something crazy comes out, but that doesn't mean people will give up on it. Palafin is a deck that I love a lot. We're losing the Starmie from 151 though, which means it's a lot harder to switch around. We have Surfing Beach still, which is nice, but just not really enough. We have the Dunsparce from Temporal Forces, which can remove itself from the active, but again, not being a water Pokemon and not working with Surfing Beach is kind of a big deal. Additionally, the Palafin and Finizen from Obsidian Flames are gone as well. There is this updated list in Japan. Here we use Goldeen as our water type to pivot around with, and we have Thwackey, who can search out any card we want as long as Goldeen is in the active. So switching to Goldeen, Thwackey searches out anything, then we go back to the Palafin and punch. This is really fun. This is really cool. I like this a lot. It's just, it seems grossly inconsistent and probably just objectively worse than a normal Festival lead deck. That said, I kind of wonder if Greninja Palafin could be like a real deck later down the line. I mean, there's potential there. You're probably playing Surfing Beach anyways to switch out the Greninjas and to use the ability. I don't know. Maybe. Regardless, Palafin is definitely fighting an uphill battle now after rotation. Okay, so Pawmot. I think this deck might actually be good. Like, with Penny and Turo rotating, it's a lot more difficult to escape that paralysis lock. This is what my old list looked like. The only Pokemon rotating here is Pawmot EX, but that was kind of a tech choice anyway. Let's just throw Fez in there instead. And we can swap out our rotating supporters again, as we always do. And looking at this list, Crispin just goes crazy. Let's throw in more of those. Pokepad is really nice as well. Here's what I'm coming up with. Honestly, I do think this might actually be decent. To be honest, we don't even really care about Battle Cage, since I think we want Monkey to knock out the active anyhow. Ethan's Magcargo is a deck that I kind of just assumed would be dead with the loss of superior energy retrieval if it was ever alive in the first place, but it looks like some players in Japan are still playing the deck and made it work a little bit. Here's a post-rotation list. We can use Energy Recycler here plus Fire Breather to get tons of energy, or the classic inferior energy retrieval. It's fine, I think. The deck already wasn't great, and it's definitely a lot worse now, so I don't know, but looks like you can still play it. I don't really know if I want to try this out, but you certainly can. One of my oldest videos was on Team Rocket's Weezing, and looking at this deck now, this deck list could use a lot of work. First of all, why wasn't I on Buddy Buddy Palafin? We definitely have to cut the Weezing from 151, but there's another Weezing and Journey together, so not the end of the world. And honestly, with the help of Pokepad, this is a deck that might be worth looking at again. Reversal energy is going away, so we need another way to attack once we run out of rocket energies. Maybe Darkness with counter gain, I don't know. But like, wow, this list can definitely be improved a ton. Here's what I'm thinking. The whole Area Zero package seems a bit silly to me as well, and so we got rid of that. We turned it into another flavor of Tauros and Victory Bell, which, you know, maybe isn't the most interesting thing in the world, but still funny. There's that. Yeah, now there are some other simple ones. My first video was on a Bomb Snow. Here's what that looks like. Alakazam is literally a meta deck now. Here's what that looks like. Our Chaladon is also very good. Here's what that looks like. Anything else I didn't mention here? I mean, I guess you can assume it isn't really playable post-rotation anymore. Erica's Victory Bell was a recent video, and that one ran 2 Arven. We can just cut those for Petrol, and it's basically the same deck. But yeah, if I didn't mention the deck, it's because I don't think it's playable post-rotation. Sorry, my bad. Bye-bye. See ya.